Hello, good evening, good afternoon. I have my usual with me. And today we're going to have a very interesting topic as usual. And today we're going to talk about manifestation and the law of attraction, alignment, and how to get into the flow. Yay! So, big topic, a common topic, and it's also a topic that a lot of times people talk about because they all know that this is possible. There is a possibility of creating the life most desired. And then there's always different techniques and different opportunities to refine the abilities to manifest and then be empowered. Yeah, any of you have some thoughts around that place? I mean, around manifestation and law of attraction? Any of your experience?
Wow, just off the bat and just throw the whole kitchen
Yeah.
sink. I mean, you talked about people wanting to manifest the life that they desire, and the first thing that came to mind for me was about the desire part. I think a lot of times there's a certain discernment when it comes to desires. I don't think every single desire that we might notice come into our thoughts or come into our emotions is necessarily something that is going to be truly fulfilling and aligned to us. And especially, I think, early on in our lives, we may notice more of the influence of, say, what our parents want our lives to be like, what our teachers, our colleagues, our friends. Basically, we're always influenced by the places that we live in and the people we're surrounded by. And so I think with manifestation, developing the discernment to recognize, do I actually want this thing or do I just think I want it because everyone else wants it or my family wants it for me? Or if I don't have it, then I won't be considered successful by the people around me. That really that was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, I really like that. Absolutely. Very often we thought about manifesting, but it may not be in alignment with who we are, what we are, and what we're born to serve or born to gift. And so that's amazing. I mean, like being able to discern will be one of the most important thing. If not, you keep digging into that hole that will not make become a well. Yeah.
Hmm.
Any?
And some people might think they cannot manifest also. So there's like, why bother? I never had luck, or I don't believe in that. So, but manifestation is also what your whole present where you are now is the whole manifestation and how with your thoughts. I think
Hmm.
that's my way of seeing it. But most of the times we're not aware of our thoughts. So that could be the tricky part where for me, I need to more dig in, okay, and watch and observe also my own thoughts or what I repeat myself every day to be in alignment of what I really want. And also for those who don't know what they want, also, it is like there's people that are just content with what they have. And that could be also like the belief that they can also not do something else. So why bother? So it's also the clarity of what you want and maybe allowing you to feel that you have desires. A lot of people, there are some generations, they don't allow themselves to think further their nose. I'm thinking about like older generations, for example, so that have lived through wars. And yeah, so for them, like being alive is already a manifestation. So yeah,
Hmm.
so we can spread it out in every different ways, but and every there are many perspectives, but for me, manifestations, like the first that comes up to mind is also the law of attraction, which was really big in the years 2000, thanks to this book, The Secret. Um, I did also my list and try to get more clarity and did write down everything I wanted, and I met the men of my life, but I forgot to mention or to write down Canada. So I ended up in Germany.
You brought up one point that I thought was very good, is that people tend to know what they don't want a lot easier. And then they end up manifesting that because there is something, in our minds that it is so difficult to say that I don't want this one, but that keeps showing up. It's just like if I just keep telling you, like, there is no elephant walking down the street of
Mm,
Singapore, um, immediately you start thinking about the elephant walking down the street, and to confirm that there is no elephant walking down the street, right? Like, if I didn't mention that, you would not have been thinking about it. So that's the thing. Is like, it's when people seems to say that I don't want this, I don't want that, but that keep coming up. The frequency, the imagination, that the visualization of that thing just keeps showing up. So that's where we have always been told that if you are doing manifestation, that's manifestation gone wrong. When you say I don't want
Yeah.
something, that
mm,
will show up. But it's always much easier for us to put in strong emotions and strong frequency vibration to something that we don't want. Like when we talk about that, oh, that I don't want, like right now I'm just coming up with a lot of news about bad neighbors who make a lot of noise. So if you're buying a new house and you keep saying that I don't want bad neighbors, I don't want bad neighbors, just imagine what sort of
Mm.
they show up,
mm.
right? So
Yeah.
there's a few things about manifestation and law of attraction. So there's definitely, and we touched about that upon that when both of you were talking, like, the clarity, right?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, what you were saying about spending more time thinking about what it is you don't want. I've definitely noticed that the biggest issue, I guess, with that has been there's so much time spent on like, I don't want this, I don't want this. It's like, what do you want, right? And there's no clear picture. Your bad neighbors example, it's like, well, what would good neighbors
Mm.
even look like? What would that experience be like? And you've just never spent time thinking about it. I noticed that with my business, even where I spent so much time thinking about what kinds of clients are really frustrating to work with and what kinds of clients I don't want. And then recently I realized, oh, I haven't spent any time thinking about what would it be like to have a really great client. And then the moment I asked myself that question, I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. I haven't spent time actually doing that. So that was a really big moment of relief where I was like, oh, wait, I just don't know. Let me spend some time getting to know what the answer to this question is so that I actually recognize it when it shows up.
Mm, love that. Yeah, that's a perfect and really good example um about where we put in our emotions and our thoughts. But yeah, it is not easy. As you said, like, what is the perfect client looking like? But you do know what is the terrible client that you don't want.
Yeah. And it's like you can have fun with it. It's like, oftentimes when we are dreaming about stuff, sometimes we might butt in and start trying to edit right from the get-go of like, oh, wait, no, but that's not really possible for me, or oh, no, that could never happen. And it's like, we're just thinking about it. We can think about whatever we want. Let's just go for the absolute best version, and then we can figure out from there what would actually happen. But if you never let yourself dream in the first place, it's like, how will you ever get to a point where the version of that dream that can come true is actually possible?
And I like that you use the word dream, because dream conjures up a lot of nice emotions, the
Hmm.
joy, the happiness, the just, the nice glow about, when that thing comes. So
Hmm.
there is that also the element of emotions that's put in to that manifestation work. So as I mentioned, there was the clarity, there's the belief, and then there is the emotions. And then what is um in manifestation, a lot of people talk about is also the surrender. Like when
Yeah.
you put that thought out there, you let it go and see what comes up, right? And actually, I think that is the most difficult part when we
Hmm.
surrender, because, like, do we have that trust? Because that boils down and bring us back to, like, do we really trust and think that whatever we want will come? So there's
Wow,
a lot
big
of,
topic there.
yeah, there's a lot of that there, right? Annie, what's your, like, you're very thoughtful. look on your
Yeah,
face.
no, I'm just, and yeah, I don't know. As a pragmatic person, I'm thinking you're talking about faith and yes, so uh, putting your energy or your thought and then letting go, surrendering, and then knowing that it will come back. So that's faith. But sometimes if we have doubts, that's just where it could be the tangling or the niggle. The niggle, where this actually could be where that brings down your frequencies. Because
Mm.
it's like, what if?
So that's where you start going into the law of attraction, right? There's a manifestation
Mm.
where we are clear about intention. We have that belief, and then we have that emotions lent into that belief, into that clarity of what we want. And then there is the surrendering, but also the discernment that this is in alignment to our soul purpose and what we want. But when we go into the next step of having set that all up, then there is the law of attraction, right? And that's when we talk about the frequency, the vibration, and then putting that into action. And actually, what is the most important part in that whole thing to me is also the ability to receive. And people seem to get, yeah, why not? If we have wish for money and wish for the pot of gold, and people put their gold in front of us, we would receive, right? It's not as simple as that, right? I mean, like, as I was giving an example, is that let's just say we want to manifest a dream job, and that the dream job means certain criterias. And then as you are going through the motion of manifestation and putting the law of action into the wheels of action, a job opportunity came that you may go, no, no, I don't want this job because I'm manifesting my dream job. But you may not realize that this is one of the baby steps you need to take you to the next job. So that's just one example, right? It's hard to receive. Another thing too is that let's just say you have been manifesting for that job, and then the job came bigger than what you expected to be, a bigger title, more money. And then you go, that's not what I wish for. I only wish for this title. I don't think I'm good enough to fulfill that title, for example, right? So it's easier said than done to talk about like how do we receive.
That reminded me of this joke, where it's about a man who falls off a boat and then he's in the river and he needs to be rescued, right? So he starts praying desperately, like, God, please save me. And then another boat comes by and it's like, did you fall off your boat? Here, we'll help you on. Quick, get out of the water. And he's like, no, 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 God will save me. Then the boat goes by and then another boat comes and asks the same question, but he's like, no, 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 God will save me. Finally, a helicopter comes and is like, we are the rescue team. We've heard reports that you're out here in the water. Quick, get on. And he's like, no, 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 God will save me. And then eventually becomes exhausted and drowns. And then at the gates of heaven, he asks God, like, why didn't you save me? I was praying so hard for you to save me. And he goes, I did. I really tried. I sent you two boats and a helicopter, but you didn't want them.
Yep, exactly. Right. So I really love that. It actually talks about how do we receive then
Yeah.
in that form. And so each and every one of us, do we do some level of manifestation and have them granted or not? Sharing time.
Well, firstly, I wanted to talk a little bit about the letting go that you talked about, like releasing the
Mhm.
intention. There's a couple things that came to mind. Let me see if I can articulate it. The first thing was I noticed that the specific feeling around releasing the intention for me has been that when people talk about kind of feeling like it's already happened, a lot of the time I'd hear people talk about like, oh, think about how nice it would be, think about how excited it will be, like how excited you'll be, how happy you'll be. And it's like all of these like really big, really energy intensive feelings. Um, and I noticed that for me at least, it made more sense to think about the things that I already have. How do I feel about them? And The honest answer is not much, right? There are things in my life that I used to want that are in my life now, and it's not that I'm not happy to have them, but I'm not like, oh yay, this is my life. It's just like, oh yeah, this is my life. So a little bit more of that feeling of just uh normalcy, like the thing is just normal, rather than the thing being exciting, was tuning it so that the thing feels normal.
Mm.
And then the other thing, which was like your example with the job not quite being what you were looking for me, the feeling or the practice that helps me to release that attachment is basically being on the lookout for every single little thing that is related to the intention and being grateful for it. Like, oh yeah, the intention is already happening. Even if it's not exactly like the end goal that I had in mind, then I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's already happening. It's not literally the same, but I can feel the sense of like we're in motion. The inertia is moving towards that experience. And then there's actually a third thing, which I think ties in nicely to the kind of work that we do, as channelers, as people who work with energy. I noticed that I don't necessarily need to be the one generating all of the energy. I'll often just ask for someone else to kind of hold on to my intention for me. Like Annie talked about manifesting a partner, I did the same thing. And when I did that, I basically was like, okay, I would like to have this amazing relationship. I kind of went through a really in-depth, multi-page like write-up of what that kind of person would be like. And then after I was done with that, I was like, okay, I don't want to have to spend every single day just randomly thinking about this hypothetical person. So I just had a necklace at the time, and I kind of arbitrarily decided, you know what, you are going to represent my intention and you're going to hold on to this for me. And I left it like that, just, and didn't think about it after. I really just like set it and forget it, right? And then when I did actually end up together with my current partner, a few months after we got together, that necklace actually broke. So I think that's a really interesting component where it's like you don't necessarily need to be the one, constantly like trying to put energy into your intentions or into your manifestation. In on the point of receiving, it's like we can also receive support in generating the kind of energy, the kind of actions and help and whatever that will lead us towards experiencing that outcome.
Beautiful. Wow. So for you,
Love the idea.
Mhm.
that's your way of actually having that energy there.
Yeah,
And
it's like a business as employees, right? It's not the CEOs doing all the work themselves. So I'm like, okay, I like that. I don't want to do all the work myself.
that's beautiful. What about you, Blaney?
Well, based on what Sydney said, like I can apply that. Necessarily, I love necklaces, but with my plants, I love to watch them flourish and grow. So I guess, and I talk to them all the time. So I guess they could be my wish carrier, or I
Mm-mm.
think it's, yeah, I think I'm gonna do that now. Especially today, I transplanted like many of them, so they have like new soil. So I'm gonna bring intention into that now.
Mm-mm.
Nice.
Nice.
So as channelers and for a lot of clients that we work with, right, we actually one of the things that I think is unique to our insights, or at least when we're working with the clients and what shows up, there is that one part of us that is current and present in this life, and that we all know that what we want and what we desire and what we hope to achieve. And then we put in all the right emotions, and then we want that frequency and that intention of putting that law of attraction into action. But what we did find out is that when we are healing a client, there are certain energies and belief that remains and that needs to be healed. So let's just say, for example, one of the manifestation, right, is about being in position with a lot of empowerment. And what does that mean? Often could mean that it's a position of leadership or a position with a lot of decision making. And then when we work on the healing, because if the manifestation is not working, and then we work on the healing, and then we went back to check, that could possibly be a life where the person made a decision and then caused a lot of problems. Like recently, we were working on the healing of this client where he spoke up for his village and everybody in his village got killed. Just imagine that energy of trauma continue to sit within our cells in our vibration. So even in the mind, you want one thing is that I want empowerment. I want to be in a position to make some decision instead of somebody else breathing down my neck to tell me what to do. But yet, at a very subliminal level, a few past life ago, there was that one time you made that decision and then caused everybody to be killed. So imagine that misalignment. And that is the part where I tend to find that, when there is the intention set and you have done everything right, and then there is the deeper healing that's needed for our soul to help with the rest of that smoothing of grace and ease into that manifestation. So that's one of those things that I find that it's harder for people to realize. It's harder for people to know, but it is where they are in that deep, deep moment of quiet or meditative mode. Then that's when they go into like, what exactly am I afraid of? And this is where, Sydney, you talk about the discernment, right? Where you're able to discern that this is truly what you want. Because there may be some logic of wanting you to want it, but yet at the back, there may be something to say that, maybe not. I'm afraid, right? Because I did have, I had a quite a long 20 over years of working experience in corporate. And I have amazing, amazing staff. But some of the staff, when I tell them that I'd like them to stand out, to speak, to present, or to be a leader in this project, they freak out. They just couldn't do it. But yet at one time, I mean, not one time, like many times they say that they want to take on a bigger role. But they can't take on a bigger role if they are not able to position, to speak out, or take on leadership in a project. And then when we check back on their past life, that's when there's that traumas, like when they were in those leadership positions, something traumatic or tragic has happened. Deep thoughts.
I think that's the thing that is so powerful and interesting when it comes to what we are doing, even for myself, where I think this is my opinion. All of these things, we don't necessarily need to use our channeling or our energy work to access. But if you're trying to access it because you notice that you have a specific pattern that you're living out, and then you're like, okay, what's going on? And then you're like, okay, I now understand where that's coming from my childhood. But then it's even harder to kind of trace back to sometimes those patterns like popped up in our childhood in the first place because of those past lives. And while I feel like each life gives us the opportunity to adjust and to change and evolve what our belief systems happen to be, and to maybe even heal the trauma that we've had from having better experiences in our current life, it's like you're trying to dig all the way in from the very surface and go all the way down, and it can be a little bit more tiring, and there's like a lot more experiences of the same pattern going over and over again. So it's nice to have something where we can have a different perspective on it, a little bit more clarity, and to kind of just go directly in and speak to that particular life, and resolve that energy from there rather than working backwards from like right now.
That's a good point.
I do have an example for that, exactly what you said, Sydney. When I was younger, my grandpa, he had peanut butter jam, and he had also chips and chocolate, but he always had $20 for me hidden. And when my mom would caught him, she would like so not hysterical, but almost like she was like really freaking out and not happy about that. So each time my grandpa did it in secret, I would always go, no, 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 I don't want to have any problem. So what do you think happened with me for a while? So there was like I had to always asking for, raise or more money or negotiating when you have like a new contract or or as a, when I started working as a freelancer, like how much do I charge? It took me a while to feel really good about that. So I definitely changed that or tweaked that part, and I'm so happy about it. But yeah, you're right. So sometimes there are little pieces of your childhood that could be also from other lives, but from this life, if you can catch them already, like you've roomed that up. Yeah, so I wish that I would have known about manifestation before already when I was younger,
Yeah. So the thing is this, right? Is manifestation something that we come here to learn to do?
I think I've always understood it as like a process that is always happening. So we are doing it unconsciously all the time. If we happen to do it consciously, that's kind of the main goal and what people mean when they're talking about manifestation is to consciously participate in the process and to bring some of your own agency, some of your own like discernment and understanding of your own desires into the picture instead of everything kind of just happening on whatever autopilot you happen to have and have accumulated from your past. And I think it's funny because I feel like it matches. We have the prefrontal cortex, which is the newest portion of our brain, which is sort of to do with all of this sort of, yeah, all of what we think of as our like thinking and strategizing and everything, like consciously making decisions about our day and what we're doing. And it's like, I feel like it's so interesting. I feel like conscious manifestation matches up with that, where it's like, we have this thing that's happening on autopilot, but what if we put our intentions into it and played with it too?
Interesting. Yeah, I like that. Annie, what do you think? Are we here to learn manifestation? And I'll explain why I asked that question.
Yeah, of course. Well, for me, it makes sense. It's like if you are at the frequency, you aligned with the same frequency. So if you're at the low frequency, somehow you attract like that. And I think that if you learn about manifestation, you can raise or lower it depending on what you came for. So I think so, yes.
That we're here to learn. Okay, so part of the reason why I'm asking that question, right, is that if we are born into our incarnation here, right? If our incarnation here is such that we are to live the life and experience the life, then what is there to manifest?
Well, you're here to manifest already what you choose that for before, sorry, as a spirit, as a soul. So you took already some guidelines before, or you signed up for a couple of things, and I guess then it comes automatically. But yeah, Sydney, help me.
I'm like, oh, I thought Teresa was gonna like go into. I didn't realize it was an actual question. Um, I mean, free will is kind of the thing that pops up for me, where I'm like, we see people all the time who don't follow their soul purpose. And my personal feeling about that is I can't stop anyone from not following their soul purpose. And I don't necessarily feel incentivized to do so. I'm like, if you want and help to get back on it, sure. But if you're like, I don't want to, then I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do anything about that. Um, and so I think it's like you are kind of free to live your life, and we kind of talked about manifesting in alignment. And the major thing about that is not because it's like you're not allowed to do things against your soul purpose or whatever. It's just that typically that feels the best. That feels the most satisfying. When you have the intentions that are aligned to you, it's like, oh, that felt good. That felt like it all worked out versus the times where people go, I worked so hard and I had all of these dreams, and now that they've come true, it sucks. Then, like, that's just a way less fun experience to have. And it takes, I think, quite a lot emotionally out of you because then it feels like, oh, what did I do all of that for? And then you have to work on processing that. So, for me, I'm like, I'm just going to talk about aligned manifestation because I want it to be satisfying when it actually comes true for people. So if we're here, like, I don't necessarily know if we're here to learn manifestation, but since we're doing it anyway, it does make things more interesting to engage with it. And then it's like you just see the consequences of your own actions.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I asked that question is that a few thoughts, right? Like if we're born into life and we're here to experience it, then it should be the experience we're born into, right? So what is it that we are here to want to change? Because manifestation in some sense is also to craft the life that we desire after we live a while and then we observe and then decide that, okay, I want this, I want to experience this, I want that, and let's manifest that to bring that in. So a lot of people will have that thoughts, right? The way I see it, very often manifestation is to heal, is actually a tool for us to heal so that we go into the natural state of being the creator that we are born to be. So as what we are born to be, very often we are here to create an experience for ourselves, for us to see who we can be. Like, who am I if I'm a boss? Who am I if I'm a daughter? Who am I in a marriage? Who am I as a friend? Who am I as a sister? Right? So all the kind of experiences that will come forward because I'm in a state of creation. But how do I be in a state of creation, which is the state of manifesting the life that we desire? If I'm spending so much time trying to heal and overcome all the barriers that is within my belief system, like I'm not good enough, I'm afraid of being backstabbed again, or I am afraid of doing something wrong, or there's all this kind of things that come forward if we are not completely healed. So what does it look like if we are completely in a state of creation? Right, in the complete state of creation is when there's no more fear and we know that we can just go out and experience. At least that's my own take on what manifestation can do for us as a tool. So it is not really to say craft the life that we desire and not born into, but actually taking us back into the state of who we naturally are and back into alignment. Big topic, right? We can all agree or to disagree, and that's fine because we all have a different philosophy in how we navigate this life, to navigate our experiences. And that's what I enjoy about this earth, is that everybody have their different ways of experiencing it. So that's why that's the big question. Like, are we here to learn manifestation? But I like how for Sydney, it's like, yeah, we're naturally always in the state of manifestation because it sounds like to me, always in a natural state of creation.
Yeah.
Because manifesting is actually creating.
Yeah. Because like the person who's like, oh, like, what if I get backstabbed again? I'm too afraid to do whatever thing it is just if they are living from that belief system, they're just gonna not do that. And then that will be a different experience as well. So everyone's gonna have whatever life experience they have.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. But for me,
Coming from the Generation X from as myself, a little bit older, I didn't grow I didn't grow up in manifesting and believing I can do what I want. I It was the time that you gotta know like across for many, many, many things. That's why X. Um, so I didn't believe for a long time that I was able to attract anything. I was just able to maybe find something, you understand? So
Yeah.
it took me a while to undo. I had to de-learn to relearn. And then for those like who's already like you're young and you're thinking already manifestation like that, like the way Sydney thinks, super. For those like it's not for me, then I do consider that it is also something that you can, and on demand time, don't think it's too late also. A lot, I'm hearing so many times like
Yeah.
I'm too old for this or whatever. It's like, no, because it's so anchored into you. But yeah, so this is that's the beauty of today is that you can allow yourself to experience, to try out. So that isn't like so do not think it's too late. If you're watching this now, give it a try. If it's not working or you don't know where to start, call us.
but if there are 3 steps that you would use for your own manifestation of what you desire, what
Mhm.
would it be? Just 3 things.
Well, for me, like 90% of it is around intention because if I have a clear intention, then I'm going to notice everything related to that, including when I run up against beliefs that work counter to what I was intending to create. So I would like me personally, I always spend the majority of my time figuring out the intention. And then the rest of it is just related to dynamically navigating whatever beliefs show up. So that's like when I say dynamically, it's like people talk about um, like having affirmations. And the whole point of affirmations is that we want to shift the way that we're thinking and approaching things. But for me, I don't necessarily uh, find it compelling to like just speak to the mirror and say it uh, when it's just part of my routine. So I'll have the affirmation or whatever I'm using to kind of shift the perspective I want to have. But instead of doing it like just saying it to myself and just like working off like repetition, I will I will bring it up when I'm in a moment where the sort of the opposite of it is showing up. If I my intention is, oh, I'm someone who can make connections with people easily, and then I'm having a moment where I'm too scared to text someone because I'm like, oh, what if I'm bothering them? And, people never like me, da da da. Like when that's happening, I use that moment to dynamically shift it into that. No, I connect with people easily. It's fine to text someone. Everyone texts people. So I use that moment actually to do the the affirming and then um focus on how it actually feels in that moment until the nervous system feels stable and calm and like, oh yeah, relax. This is just how things work. This is the reality of it. So that's me.
So 3 steps, right? Yours is intention.
Yeah, intention and then the accompanying beliefs for that and then I'm applying it dynamically, especially paying attention to how it feels in the moment.
if there's one word for that, would be sinking into that emotion or
Um, it's more like calming. So I think a big thing, right, that has been important for me in my life is never make a decision when you're really emotional, right? Like never make a big life decision when you're really emotional.
yeah.
And that's how I think of it when I'm doing this process too, is that if I'm so anxious about something and so scared of something, then that's my signal that whatever thoughts I'm having in that moment around that thing are not going to be clear and they're not going to be accurate. So when I'm hearing like the same example, right? If I'm like, oh, nobody wants to hear from me, I just send really annoying messages or they're gonna think I'm needy, blah, blah, blah. If I'm having that and I recognize I'm feeling really anxious right now, I'm feeling really scared right now, then those thoughts aren't true. It's just a really simple equation. And it makes it much easier to observe the thoughts too. Because if I know, okay, it's not true, then I can just watch what they're doing and
Mm,
kind of be like, okay, that's what you're saying, but it's not going to affect the decision that we ultimately make.
mm,
And some, of course, it's like I'm human too. Sometimes they will affect the decision that I make, right? Maybe I'll like get psyched out by it and be like, okay, never mind. I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. Then once that moment's passed and I realize that, oh, I made that decision because I was scared, I will forgive myself and go, well, that was that moment. And now I managed to recognize it retrospectively. Let's try and catch it in the actual moment next time.
nice. Any? What are your 3 steps that you use?
I don't think I have 3 steps. I have more steps, but
More
anyway, the
steps?
first time. I'm
Give us
not
the
so down
steps
to earth like Sydney. I am an emotional person. And sometimes if you yeah, so I acknowledge first how I feel.
for sure.
And then I try to find silence. So I acknowledge what I feel like. Let's just say you want something really bad, but at the end you're frustrated because it's still not there. And then
Yeah.
it turns into anxiety and wakes you up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh no.
See, okay, let's just say so. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So at first, I accept that I am feeling maybe frustrated. I might be negative, grumpy, um, or even anxious, or feeling fear. Like what could happen when I don't make it? Like has to happen now.
Hmm.
So when it's like I take a deep breath. So silence is like meditation or going to uh, nature or petting or my pets or whatever that brings me back into my body because I think my emotions sometimes bring me completely elsewhere.
Yeah.
So grounding. So I have clarity. If the silence there is just there'll be a moment where boom, there's something, the answer is there. There's something where it's my intuition or the connection I made, whatever that's where and then there's the actions because fear is always a process, a biological reaction that, helps you. Adrenaline pushes, activates your heart, and your heart like spreads the blood everywhere to your muscles so you can run. The thing is, like, if you don't take actions, you're just there with that type of energy. You're just like, and that's a thing that you need. For me, I like to take action. So if I have, and I feel like I'm connected, usually I know I'll be in the flow. I'll write down, I'll do something, but I need to do something. So it's really visually. So depending on what I need. So if it's like something that for my income taxes, then I'll I'll manifest it. I like as you did mention it, Sydney. Like okay, ask for help.
Mm.
So it could be people, or it could be nature, or prayers, whatever you want to. So and usually that's how it always ends up. This is where my surrender process is mostly accepting how I feel and manifesting and like putting the effort because it's not just like making prayers, send a letter and it's going to come back like the way you think. So usually it's like it comes from you. It's not just elsewhere coming to you. It does, you know, something happen. But I do think that you have to invest. For me, I need to invest. If it's energy or I need to write it down or something, do exactly. So not just being in my head and being busy with my thoughts, because then it's too much. You know, I'm twilling, Tony's twilling. I'm a Gemini, so I'm already like, it's already hairy here. So I need to put down, so putting words, reading, talking to someone, but sometimes that's how clarity comes from me. So it's different. Like sometimes it just happens, but clarity, it happens through communication, either written, or I'm opening a book and I will read something and that will be the answer. So this is, you know, connecting in different ways. But yeah, so silence, connecting or listening. So, you know, trying to put your thoughts aside so you really feel, you know, you're in tune, and then taking action. That would be my way to manifest. Oh, and emotion. Leaving space. So putting the finger on which emotion you are feeling and what does this feeling actually, or emotion, is reflecting to you. Like, I'm grumpy, but you're unsatisfied about something. Okay, so it's not that life is happening to you. It's maybe something I haven't done. So it's my personality. Sometimes I wait too long.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So there's one manifestation method that is more physical that I learned from this woman called Gabriel Hart. She's Australian, and it's actually a very simple science that she put it. And I've used it once. This one time when I needed to travel to Paris, and then there is this at that time when we were traveling to Paris, there's a lot of people who say that Parisians are not the most friendly people in Paris, you know, that they are like, if you don't speak French, then, you know, they don't have time and day for you. So I was a bit concerned. It's my first time in Paris, and I really just wanted to have a good time. So I used her method. And I must say, I had an amazing time in Paris, and everybody's so friendly until the Parisians themselves tell me that's unusual. Parisians are not that friendly. So I'll share with you the method. So the science behind the method is this. Our cells, they are vibrating and splitting into different cells every 1 minute and 11 seconds. So how the cell is vibrating and how they are splitting into that vibration will be up to us to manufacture that frequency. So if we are in a state of low vibration, which is like sad, grumpy, whatever, right? Every 1 minute and 11 seconds, when your cells are splitting, that's when you split more of those frequency vibrational cells. So for her is to then split those cells at a higher frequency of emotional state of high, right? So then basically you can jump, you can skip, and you can scream, like just manufacture the state of agape or extreme joy or extreme excitement or extreme happiness. And but when you're doing that, like, you know, if I'm jumping, skipping for the 1 minute and 11 seconds, and allowing the cells to split, I then will be like, yay, bringing it in, like I have the most amazing time in Paris. I meet the most helpful people, and I'm safe, and I was like, so fantastic. I get to see those beautiful, amazing sights in Paris, Eiffel Tower, and all those things, right? So for 1 minute and 11 seconds, I'll be skipping, jumping, screaming out, oh, so right? So that is the technique that she taught. I think I distinctively used it one time, and I really had the most amazing time in Paris until like when I was getting into the cab and the cab driver's like, how's your like usually cab drivers in Paris don't usually want to make small talk, but this one actually wanted to chat with us. And I was like, oh yeah, we love it. It was really good. And he's like, it must be the holiday season. Not many Parisians are in town. I was like, no, truly, people are very helpful when we took the train, right? And when people saw that we're tourists with the map, they literally came up to us and said, can I help you? Can I show you which is the stop you need to go? And I'm like, wow, yeah, why not? And it's not even me going up to ask them. So that's one time when I used that and I had the most amazing time in Paris. So that is one hack that I have been taught. But the others that I have used myself was just emotionally letting the universe know that I need your help to make it happen. Right? To have that amazing meeting or meeting the right people. And there were simple things. Just to, I'm not too sure sometimes is it just, a simple prayer, but it is also a prayer of gratitude, a prayer of appreciation that, I am alive and well and have the clarity of mind to have this experience. Right? But also most importantly is to receive. I'll share one story one time. I was having a conversation with somebody about we're at this event. Who are the people that you will not go actively to search to hang out with, right? And so yeah, I named these 5 people, right? And one of them being too loud, one of them being too bossy, one of them being whatever, right? I was like, oh yeah, I will not actively seek out to hang out with these people, right? Because they'll be too loud or too bossy or whatever. And then I also told the universe that, I like to use this event to learn certain things, like how to hang out with people or how to have an amazing time with a group of strangers. And then this is how the universe answered me. So remember I named 5 people that I would not actively go hang out with, right? Not that I don't like them, it's just I would not go hang out with them actively. Then there was an opportunity to go to a tourist site and somebody rented a car and wanted us to carpool. So basically he said, Teresa, do you want to join me? I said, yeah, of course, I'd love to join you to go to, since you're driving and taking us somewhere far away, I'll come along. He said, yeah, okay, I'm just going to check who else want to come along. I said, yeah, sure, great. And guess who are the 5 people who showed up? It was exactly the 5 people that I say I will not actively seek out to want to hang out with. I'm like, okay, so this is one manifestation is where I'm manifesting who I don't want to hang out with, and they truly answer you with exactly the same people that I needed to hang out with, but also because I asked to learn to how to social and how to mingle. And honestly, I had the best time with these 5 people. I really did. Right? So I would say that that is also manifestation in its work itself, in a way that we may not have understood it, but the universe do answer us. And as a form of receiving, instead of me going, oh my God, just 5 people, that's it, I'm not coming, right? Because I've specifically, if I want to keep to my principles, like, okay, I don't want to hang out with these people because I'm not actively wanting to hang out with these people. And then I don't get into the state of receiving. And therefore, me putting out a message to say, I want to learn, I miss the opportunity to learn. All right. I thought that was a very interesting way of how the universe wants to show me and teach me and answer my stuff. Yeah. So yes. So before we end, as usual, shall we bring in a message from our guides, Ascended Master or Star Nations about this topic? Oh, I forgot to open the circle. Oh my God. Every time I forgot to open this.
You just open it when we when we finish
Yeah.
up.
Yes,
It's
okay.
okay as long as we remember.
Yes. Just let them know you're welcomed. The circle's open.
Mm. We are the fairies.
Ooh, hi, fairies.
Yes. We're here to kindly remind you we can help you for each tip to manifestation, to your own manifestation, to experience the best life you want. And we're here also to inform you that we teach you every day. You don't see us, unfortunately. We do try to highlight or sprinkle throughout the day as reminders. We whisper to your ears and want you to fulfill your all your desires and what you came from for, and also for your purpose. So feel free to reach out, as we are there to help.
Thank you.
We're always there.
Thank you, fairies. I thought all of them would be queuing up to jump in.
Mother Gaia,
Ooh, hi, Mother Gaia.
I'm here to remind you that I'm here to support you, that to nurture you, to ground you. I'm here to remind you that being grateful is what connects you to me and other realms. I notice old children, for many of them, they do not ask. They whine. However, they do not ask. I remind you, you can ask. You can verbalize your thoughts, your desires. You can verbalize what your heart feels like, what your heart wants. You verbalize very often what your mind said. What about your body and your heart and your spirits?
Thank you. It's a very good, I guess, technique for manifestation, right, Mother Gaia?
Mm.
Thank you.
This is the ocean.
Mm.
I want to remind you of the soup that you were born from and your potential to shift and change, to change your flow, to adjust, to transform. You do it all the time, accommodating new life situations, accommodating new people and circumstances. Yet, remember your flow can also create its own wave, and you can transform into a new shape, express a new electricity. Your starting point was always one of potential and of creation, and you can create and move yourself in many ways. There is no need to be caught in fear, for there is much more possible and much more you are capable of than the conscious mind is designed to perceive. If you can sense a possibility in your thoughts, in your emotions, and in your being, that means that possibility exists. And you can give it a try if you want to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ocean. That's beautiful. And one more last one.
I am the human DNA.
Hello.
I am your form. And I am your coding. However, your frequencies can change my coding. I wear you as you wear me. I can help you manifest. I also manifest everything you came for. Your genetics and also other type of forms of energy that we haven't found yet. The science hasn't found yet, but we'll find soon. Therefore, meanwhile, be aware of your own thoughts as they decode and change my blueprint. I am part of life, and your code impacts your life. Remember to take care of yourself. Just thinking is not just the equation. Feeling good starts also with how you take care of yourself, like nutrition, exercises. The environment where you live also influences. We can collaborate together to manifest good life, the life form to not just your life, but the next generation of life.
Thank you, Human DNA. Thank you. Okay, any others? It's really interesting folks who came through to share. If there's no more, we'll just take our time, come back. You know, it sounds like Sydney has somebody there with you. No more?
Oh,
Okay,
no,
beautiful.
it's just getting abstract stuff.
Yeah. Wow, very interesting folks came through to share. We had,
Uh,
I think, human DNA is the first time we heard from human DNA. And
I'm
also,
not super
I
surprised.
yeah.
it was like very difficult to not very difficult, but another type of energy. I felt like I was in the middle of electrons and so
Mm.
I'm still I don't know. It's very physical.
Yeah, that's fair. I noticed it too, where I was like, a lot of the energies I noticed weren't necessarily like other beings. It was like components of the world and then like us as well. So it was really funny, like right before you started with human DNA, I was hearing something related to DNA too, and then you started and I was like, okay, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then at
Good.
the end there, I was just watching like a whole bunch of abstract stuff start happening, and it was
Yeah.
like, and like moving around
You could
and
be in a
changing
different plane
shape and transforming and all sorts of things,
because you
splitting apart,
Oh,
merging together, blah 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 blah.
because you could have gone into the plane of manifestation, the law of attraction plane. Like there are 7 planes in this world, and then there are different planes where you will see them at different work. So that's where it sounds like you were at, where you see a lot of things changing, moving. They are actually all taking shape itself before it becomes a formation.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I
beautiful.
saw like pixels. I don't know how to
Mm-hmm.
say. It's like universal, like before or after. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Still a lot of things to uncover, still a lot of things for us to learn. But yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
today we have dropped some nuggets for everybody to take away a piece to apply in their life. So thank you everybody. Today is our short sharing. Thank you so much for tuning in. And then till next week, we'll speak to you soon again. Bye bye.
Bye.